Thank you for joining us, Wayne Madsen.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing good. What do you think about this?
Well, when I first heard about the meeting on the tarmac involving Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch, my mind went back to the infamous Bill Clinton haircut where he delayed all the air traffic at LAX because he had to get a special haircut from a barber.
I wonder if they shut down all the air traffic while they had their 30-minute private meeting in the airplane. And understand, too, that
you have to stay away from these tarmac meetings. But anyway, the optics on this are incredibly bad. I would note that Charlie Rose, who I think really represents his favorite organization, and he's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, he laughed this off. He said, "Oh, come on, it's just a meeting between two politicians. What's so unusual?" Well, news to this veteran CBS correspondent, Charlie Rose, and he should know from Watergate days, the Attorney General is not a politician when they're serving in the role as Attorney General.
Oh, absolutely.
Even her previous job, Lynch's, was U.S. Attorney in Brooklyn. So I don't know, where Charlie Rose gets off. Oh, it's a meeting. Maybe he ought to go back and look at his own reporting on Watergate and all those meetings between various people like John Mitchell. Maybe he should have laughed that off as just meetings between politicians when Mitchell and Haldeman and Ehrlichman were together.
Oh,
This guy, it must be senile, but why does CBS still keep him around?
Yeah, she acts as if, well, on second thought and looking back on this probably wasn't a good idea. Come on. She is, as you just pointed out, she's a career lawyer. And so is Bill Clinton, okay? He's a lawyer as well. They know what the rules are. They know what is going on here. And I think, honestly, Wayne, I think she was passing information to him so that Hillary could prepare for her deposition with the FBI this Saturday.
I do, too. And it's definitely interfering with an investigation. It's called obstruction of justice in federal legal parlance. And but, of course, the Clintons will skip out of everything. This is the same president who managed to parse a one-syllable word is.
Yeah.
We have to remember that.
Yeah, and of course, we also need to remember that it was just about 4 or 5 days ago that we had this guy who was part of a corruption probe in the UN, Ash, who had a barbell dropped on his neck. And it was very convenient for the Clintons because it was just a couple of days before he was going to be testifying. They've been arresting people from China as part of this corruption purchasing stuff. And these are people that were involved with the Clintons 20 years ago when Bill was running for president. In 1996, when he was running for president, they were laundering money from Chinese businesses, from the Chinese government, Charlie Tree and other people, in order to fund his presidential race. And all of that got swept under the carpet. And this guy looked like he was going to try to turn state's evidence, just like some of the other Chinese businessmen that they picked up, saying that, well, we're going to testify and try to get ourselves off. That's the way they always roll this. They started out at the bottom. They were rolling their way up the top. This guy was desperate, and it looked like he was going to do a deal, bring this all up again, and then he dies.
I would also remind people that Mr. Ash, who was the president of the UN General Assembly, had been the ambassador to the UN from the Caribbean island state of Antigua and Barbuda. And let us not forget that Antigua was once the home of the Stanford International Bank. Now, quote-unquote, Sir Alan Stanford, he basically had himself knighted by the Antiguan government, was a big donor to Democratic Party coffers. He donated to Republicans, too, but Stanford's in jail now, but his bank, which was headquartered in Antigua, collapsed. Now, my question is, what does the FBI potentially have on financial transactions between this a bank that was too big and did fail because it was fraudulent, it was tied up with the CIA, and the Clinton Foundation, because we know in both cases Stanford Bank out of Antigua was had clients in probably 80 to 85 countries, and you match that against the donors to to the Clinton Foundation, you come up to around 80, 85 countries.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it might have been more than just a little bit embarrassing for the Clintons, don't you think?
Yeah, and people who, like Vince Foster, who are in a position to embarrass the Clintons, normally turn up dead.
And that was an interesting thing, too, because Ash's lawyer said, oh, there's nothing suspicious about this. I wouldn't suspect murder at all. This is absolutely nothing like Vince Foster. And it's like, what?
Yeah,
His attorney is saying, yeah, I think it's not like the murder of Vince Foster. Yeah.
He said it without saying it, didn't he?
Exactly. All right, let's talk about your article that was on InfoWars yesterday. I think it's still up. The EU, a powerhouse pedophile hierarchy. You're talking about the EU bureaucracy protecting these sex rings that are involving people at the highest level of European government.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been pretty well known that higher ups in Europe and in this country too are involved in this sordid business. But until I was contacted just after the Brexit vote in the UK by middle level people in British intelligence, did I have any idea how endemic the problem was, and that one of the reasons there was this revulsion against the EU in the United Kingdom, especially England and Wales, was the fact that the people in these countries, they know what's going on with the EU, that the EU, far beyond being able to allow people and goods and services to go between national borders unfettered, it has been an awfully great thing for pedophiles trafficking in child pornography and children. And it was brought to my attention, and I remembered the Madeleine McCann case. This was the little 3-year-old girl, people may remember, that was kidnapped, supposedly kidnapped from her parents' apartment, resort apartment in 2007 in Praia da Luz, which is on the southern coast of Portugal. And what's odd about the case, and it really wasn't reported like over in this country, is that immediately Tony Blair got involved, who was the then prime minister. He resigned not long afterwards, and his successor, Gordon Brown, who had been the Chancellor of the Exchequer, living next door to him at number 11 Downing Street, and where Blair was at number 10, both these individuals, especially Brown, was on the phone to Portugal trying to offer all of his quote-unquote assistance in the case.
Yeah, now, that's really strange.
That's like the Treasury Secretary. I could see the Home Secretary in charge of MI5 getting involved in that, but what was Gordon Brown doing? And then they sent their personal spinmeister down, the media watchdog man. This man was sent down to handle the case, and later he turns up as the spinmeister for David Cameron. Different political party. Same guy, Labor and then Conservative. And when you peel back this nasty layer of the EU, you find out that it does provide not only sanctuary, like these pedophile resorts that exist in Portugal and Spain and France, but also it protects the trafficking in children and high-level cover-ups of the crimes of these pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. You have this question in your article. Why would the staff of a British prime minister become involved in media spin about a missing little girl on holiday with her parents and siblings in Portugal? I mean, that right there is so incredibly strange. And you're going to talk about how a descendant of Sigmund Freud was involved in this tangentially.
Yeah, it turns out that Clement Freud, who was the grandson of the Austrian psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, he was a member of the British Parliament at one time, a member of the Liberal Democrats, and was so-called humorist and a television personality and whatnot, and radio guy. It turns out that he lived not too far from the vacation home where Madeleine McCann, this little 3-year-old girl, disappeared. And it also turns out now that Clement Freud was known to be a pedophile. So you put 2 and 2 together. Now, he's not the only one who was implicated in the disappearance of this little 3-year-old little girl. But you look at the connections between this guy Freud, and then one of the people brought in to handle the aftermath of the kidnapping of Madeleine McCann was this guy Clement Freud's son, Matthew Freud, who headed up a PR company that was retained in this case.
So they bring in a PR flack as part of the investigation.
whose father is obviously was one of the suspects, since he lived next door to where the little girl was kidnapped in Portugal. Wow,
that's just amazing. I was amazed to see in your article this list of people at the top of the British elite. Of course, we all know about Jimmy Savile, the entertainer.
Oh, yeah.
And that was shut down multiple times. There was investigation by Scotland Yard several times. Higher-ups shut it down. They had people at the BBC, after he died, did a documentary talking about his pedophile crimes. That was shut down by the BBC.
Well, I mean, it's just... Savile worked for the BBC.
Yeah, so. Exactly. But then you also pointed out the former British Home Secretary, overseer of MI5, Lord Britton, also former British Prime Minister Edward Heath, former MI6 Secret Intelligence Service official Sir Peter Heyman. All of these different, and that's just a part of the list that you've got there. All of these people have been involved in high-profile pedophile cases. We're going to be right back with Wayne Madsen. Stay with us. This is really why a lot of these elites want to stay in the European Union. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and we're talking to Wayne Madsen. We'll get right back to Wayne to talk about the pedophile industrial complex. It's one of the key motivations, he believes, behind the elite trying to stay in as part of the European Union, and also part of the rebellion about the people who are middle level in law enforcement, as well as the masses, the middle class, who are fed up with the political consolidation. Understand what is going on. There's multiple levels to this, okay? We've got corrupt bankers. We've got the military-industrial complex and the bankers who run that. They want this kind of economic and political consolidation. But then there's also other things that are very powerful motivators, like this pedophile industrial complex. That gives them a great deal of control over these people. It makes them blackmailable, and it makes them controllable from a number of other aspects. Before I get back to Wayne, real quickly, we have our July 4th mega specials are now live at InfoWarsStore.com. Huge specials for this Independence Day weekend. We've got 20% off Survival Shield X2. 20% off all the Alexa Pure water filters. That's from the biggest systems down to the shower heads that are going to filter out the chlorine if you're on a city water system. Also, 20% off Alexa Pure air filters. So filter your air, filter your water. 20% off of both of those systems, as well as Survival Shield X2. And then the biggest sale that we have is 20 to 40% off InfoWars Select Storable Foods. These are all made in the USA. The best packaging you'll find in any storable foods. It lasts for 25 years. This is the way to prepare for food security. Take care of your health. Make sure you've got clean water, clean air, and storable food that is going to be available to you at a consistent price, and 20 to 40% even off of our regular price. So let's go back to Wayne Madsen now. Wayne, give us the big picture here. Tell us about the pedophile industrial complex.
Well, I would mention that one of the things the EU allowed for example, in the McCann case, is that these British officials, including law enforcement, were allowed to immediately go to Portugal and interfere in the Portuguese police, the judicial police investigation of the disappearance of this 3-year-old girl, Madeleine McCann. Now, that itself is egregious. Not only did they interfere, though, they also prevented the police from actually doing their job. So basically, the police that were doing the investigation, the Portuguese police, had to throw their hands up. They issued the report and basically stated that they thought there was high level, which there was, interference in the case. And then when all was said and done, the EU got involved through the Portuguese government, when Portugal's a member of the EU, and many of these police officers in Portugal found themselves being sanctioned criminally and were otherwise leaned on And so
very analogous to what we're going to see happen, I think, with the Hillary Clinton investigation. People at the upper levels shutting down the work of the honest people at the mid-level and lower level, and then sanctioning them if they go ahead and do their work.
These were the chaotic scenes as residents of a city in southeastern Venezuela went on the rampage in search of basic food items. People desperate for staples like milk, rice and flour stormed a supermarket warehouse in Guayana City.
If you go back to 2007, the British Ministry of Defense came out and echoed a Department of Defense report from here in the U.S. saying that beginning in the year 2016, right through 2020 to 2030, that they believe there would be massive multi-100% food price increases worldwide. And that during that global meltdown, that there would be incredible social unrest that would depopulate much of the earth. Now, in 2016, Vice magazine and other publications are reporting on a 2015 report produced by the U.S. government, the UN, and scores of foreign nations, as well as the State Department, overseen by food giant Cargill, the World Bank, and most importantly, the World Wildlife Fund. The World Wildlife Fund is a eugenics, anti-human organization set up by Prince Bernhard, who also founded the Bilderberg Group and who was a Nazi officer. This organization sells environmentalism to make the elite look like heroes saving the earth, when in truth, they are ushering in a planetary tyranny that is irrevocably damaging the fabric of our planet. In this new FEMA report, with headline, FEMA contractor predicts social unrest caused by 395% food price spikes, you learn that this is a report filed with governments and major institutions overseen by a contractor that since the 1940s has been the main advisor for the U.S. Navy Marine Corps.
The challenges and crises that we were assigned are exactly what we expect to see in the future. So you've got famine, you've got increased pests.
Food prices are going up 400%. We've got a flood of migrants coming in. The world is starting to fall apart.
Everything we do is going to have some negative effect.
Now, all of this said, governments and corporations and institutions are stockpiling food and weapons. They're digging in, they're getting bunkers. Elites are fleeing to places like New Zealand en masse. We've gone from financial meltdown and huge regional wars being a possibility to being a probability to more and more becoming an inevitability. Now, the big question is, what are we going to do about it? The advice I give you is the same advice that I carry out in my own personal life. Number one, everybody needs to be able to protect themselves. Everybody needs friends and family they can rely on in crises. And everyone needs high-quality storable foods and high-quality water filtration systems. Not just for collapse when it comes to water filters. All the garbage in our water, you'd be insane to drink well water or tap water with the glyphosates and all the rest of it. But we're offering the biggest wide-spectrum sale ever on preparedness items. 20, that's the lowest savings, to 40% at InfoWarsStore.com. On InfoWars Select, high-quality storable foods, the highest quality, the lowest prices, powered by My Patriot Supply. We also sell their food as well, their full spectrum. And all of their water filtration systems across the board, from gravity-fed systems like Alexa Pure and ProPure, to shower filters, to survival straws, you name it, it's all 20 to 40% off right through July 4th at InfoWarsStore.com. I know I personally am getting prepared. The warning signs are insane. Take advantage, 20 to 40% off until early next week with the 4th of July holiday special at InfoWarsStore.com.